Shri Tripura Rahasyam MahatmyaKhandam Chapter 33. Then Mahesha, praised by the gods and permitted by Himavan, proceeded along with Parvati from Himavan's garden. Filled with love, Himavan followed them to a short distance. Then Maheshwara, understanding the unwillingness of his father-in-law, who was following them to get back, looked with a smile at Parvati. Knowing the mind of Mahesha, Devi Parvati enlightened her father, who had forgotten her divinity owing to a curse from her, and showed him her most wonderful glory. Then, seeing his daughter, who was the supreme Devi, Himavan understood her reality and all the principles of the world, and, dispelled of illusion and permitted by Shiva and Parvati, returned to his dwelling along with abundant self-glory. After asking Brahma and others to return to their respective abodes, Shiva, along with Parvati and his retinue, reached Kailasha and decided to perform penance. Then, on the banks of the divine river Ganga, Mahadeva, sitting under a banyan tree located in a sacred place, performed penance for 1000 divine years. During that time, he reduced to ashes Manmatha, who was disturbing his penance. O Bhargava, in this manner, even Kama was burnt by Shiva. Listening the wonderful story, Parashurama inquired again thus: O compassionate ascetic, the ambrosial stream of story flowing from your lotus-like face is increasing my thirst, even as I have drunk a lot. Like an intoxicated bee, I am never satisfied. I desire to drink that again through my ears. How was Kama burnt by Shiva? Why did Kama hinder the penance of Shiva? Please tell me all that. Who is inquiring again and again. Then again, how did Vishnu recover the Sudarsana disc that was burnt by Jvalamukhi? O Guru, please tell me about that also. Thus eagerly inquired Dattatreya, the great yogi, narrated the legend. O Supreme, in the Bhrigu clan, listen, I will narrate it to you. After a lapse of time of Vishnu, the Lord of the three worlds, losing his Sudarsana, a powerful demon by name Mura came to fight with him. During the combat, Vishnu, without Sudarsana, became dull, just like a bull without horns. Then Brahma said to Hari thus: O Hari, listen, without Sudarshana you cannot win this demon. Hence you propitiate with concentration the Devi Jvalamukhi. Getting the disc from her, he will be able to defeat this Mura. Hearing Brahma, Vishnu, who was fighting there, disappeared. Then the demon Mura, seeing that, thought that Vishnu was defeated and returned home. Then Vishnu went to the Himalayan mountain, the abode of the Supreme Devi, Jvalamukhi, where she lived day and night with her burning face. There, after taking bath, Vishnu, with control of his body, mind and speech, worshipped Jvalamukhi and performed severe penance for 1000 years without food, without support, with raised arms and closed eyes. Then the pleased Maheshwari, Jvalamukhi, appeared before Vishnu to grant his desires. She was effulgent like a crores of suns. Her complexion was red like the rising sun. Her 3 heads were decorated with shining crowns. She was wielding the sword and the trident and wearing a garland of skulls. From her eyes, ears, nose, and hairpits was emerging every second a huge flame. Born out of the anger of Gauri, she was looking fierce. She was being praised by an assembly of gods, Gandharvas, Apsaras, and surrounded by her own retinue, who were singing and dancing. O Bhargava, seeing Jvalamukhi, who had appeared before him, Vishnu, prostrated before her, and standing with folded palms, praised her with many wonderful secret hymns. Then Devi Jvalamukhi, who was happy with the prayers, addressed Vishnu thus: O Vishnu, O Lord of the world, I am pleased. Ask for your desired boon, I will grant it to you all. There is nothing which you do not deserve. Being the brother of my Devi, you are adorable everywhere. Listening to this, Vishnu, with folded hands, said thus: O Devi, lend your ears. In the past, I was created by the great Devi Tripura Sundari for protecting this world indeed. According to her command, I am always engaged in protecting the world. But now, some demon known by the name Mura, intent on destroying the world, is harassing all the gods. Requested by the gods, when I was engaged along with my battalion in the war with him to kill him, I was rendered powerless for want of Sudarsana disc. I have approached you to get Sudarsana. Now please protect the moving and non-moving creation by giving the disc to me. Or you may by your immense power destroy the lord of the demons. Listening to the request from Vishnu, Devi Jvalamukhi addressed him with a smile thus: O Narayana, you are Trivikrama, the dear brother of Gauri. I am obedient to her. Hence, you are really venerable to me. Even though I am capable of destroying the demon, you are all bound by the command of Sri Tripura Sundari. When, out of fear towards her, the wind blows, the sun rises, the moon rises along with the stars, the earth holds the creation, the sea does not transgress the shore. How can I freely be without respect for her? I am pleased by your penance. Take your weapon. Saying thus, the benevolent Jvalamukhi took out from her weapon the Sudarsana disc with 1,000 blazing teeth and gave it to Vishnu. She also said thus: This Sudarsana disc is more powerful than the previous one and is unfailing and unassailable. Your desire will be fulfilled. By this disc you will conquer the worlds and nothing remains to be won. Go and quickly kill the demon and bless the world. Then the Devi Shiva Jvalamukhi disappeared soon like a dream. After receiving the Sudarsana disc, Vishnu invited Mura to fight and immediately with the Sudarsana burnt him like a moth along with his army. O Parashurama, thus I have narrated how Vishnu got back his disc. O Bhargava, listen as to how later Kama was reduced to ashes. After marrying Parvati, Shiva performed a great penance. After the passage of a long time, a demon named Taraka and another by name Surapadma, with their might and arrogance acquired through intense penance, became the lords of the 18 worlds. Defeated by them, Indra, the lord of the gods, helplessly approached the creator Brahma. Seeing Indra, who had lost his glory and was standing reverentially, Brahma, after giving a thought, spoke to him thus: O Indra, listen. The lord of the demons possesses great power. Taraka and Surapadma, who were mentioned by me earlier, are invincible either by you or anyone else except by Swaminatha, the son and fortune of Mahadeva. Hence, go to Shiva and request him to beget a son. His son by becoming the chief of the army of gods, will vanquish the demon and restore your wealth of the three worlds. Hearing the words of Brahma, Indra, along with the gods, rushed to pray to Shiva. Reached there, Indra said, the tranquil, blue-necked great god, the consort of Devi Uma, the protector of all. He saw Shiva, who had closed his eyes, who was surrounded by sages like Sanaka and others, who were great by their sattvic qualities, and a serene, pure mind like the autumnal waters. In that place, no one was moving, no one was breathing heavily, nor seeing each other, nor talking. The birds did not chirp, the wind was speedless, the sun not scorching, the branches motionless. Everything looked like a still painting. Indra was unable to stand even at a distance. Overpowered by the heat of penance, Indra was indeed not able to see. Then Indra, thinking that none other than Brihaspati, the Guru, can protect him, remembered the Guru with concentration. As soon as Indra remembered, the king among yogis presented himself. Seeing the Guru, Indra felt relieved. Holding his feet and bowing down with folded hands, the helpless, grieved Indra said thus, O Guru, look at me, who has lost the kingdom and drowned for long in the ocean of misery without any other savior. Ordered by Brahma, I came here to request Shiva to beget a son, but I am unable to go near him. What shall I do? How will my desire be fulfilled? Please tell me a suitable strategy by which my requirement will be achieved. Hearing the words of Devendra, Guru, considering the future events, addressed Indra regarding the achievement of his task and pleased him. O Indra, listen. Propitiate with devotion Devi Gauri. She will bless you. There is no other way. Saying thus, the Guru disappeared like a tiny cloud carried away by the wind. Then Indra performed penance for 1 year to please Devi Gauri. The pleased Gauri appeared before him and said thus, O Indra, speak out what you want. Then Indra, seeing the Devi, prostrated before her and praised her with many hymns, and said with folded hands thus, O Devi, I have indeed lost my kingdom to the demon. I was told by Brahma that the son of Mahadeva will help me, and that there is no other way to achieve my goal. Hence, I came here to have my desire fulfilled. But on seeing Shiva engaged in penance, I have lost hopes. As urged by Brihaspati, I am seeking shelter under you. Please save me from the ocean of difficulty. Saying thus, Indra again fell prostrate at her feet. End of the 33rd chapter of the MahatmyaKhandam of Shri Tripura Rahasyam. Chapter 34. Hearing Indra, the great Devi said thus, O Indra, listen. It looks as though your desire will not be fulfilled because of the curse from the wives of the seers. I have no chance of having a child, and similarly, Shiva cannot have a child through anyone other than me. Hence, how will your want be accomplished? On the whole, it appears impossible. Listening to Gauri, Indra said with folded hands, O Devi, you are universally worshipped. How is it that you are cursed? From whom and why? How Mahadeva was also cursed? O consort of Shiva, tell me about this, which is astonishing. Requested by Indra, the Devi narrated thus, O Indra, listen why Shiva and I were cursed. Once in the past, when I was living in my father's house in Himalaya, I went to the forest along with my friends to see the autumnal beauty. Ordered by my father, 1,000 hunters followed me as bodyguards. In that forest, I saw a rare, beautiful deer engaged in love with her partner. I ordered the hunter to catch them for my sport. All the hunters surrounded the pair of deers and brought them to me. The female deer was shying and weeping. The male deer said thus, O Devi, I am Suhotra, belonging to Kashyapa lineage, living in this forest along with this lady, who is the daughter of the sage Bharadwaja. Seeing a pair of deers, she desired a similar love sport from me, and assuming the form of the female deer, she was amorous. In that context, even though requested to be executed, In that context, even though requested to be excused for my ignorant act, he cursed me not to have conjugal bliss. Listen to the cause for the curse on Shiva. Long ago, at the beginning of the Treta Yuga, the Brahmins, by their great penance, became powerful and neglected the gods and controlled Indra, Siddhas, and Rakshasas. The gods became obedient to the Brahmins. Observing the three worlds brought under the control of the Brahmins, Indra lost his glory and became subservient to the Brahmins. Then the helpless Indra, along with the other gods, went to Brahma and submitted his subordination to the Brahmins. Hearing this, Brahma said thus to Indra, I cannot counteract because I am also frightened of the power of their penance. Saying thus, Brahma, along with Indra, went to Vishnu and narrated verbatim the news about the gods. Listening to the power of penance of the Brahmins, Vishnu addressed Brahma thus, O Brahma, listen. Presently, the Brahmins dwelling in the Daruka forest have conquered everything by their immense penance, and I do not see any means to prevent them. If opposed, they may destroy the three worlds. They are capable of creating 100 universes in a moment. Hence, any effort of ours will not work. Therefore, let us go to Mahadeva, who will do good to us. Saying thus, Vishnu reached Kailasa along with Brahma and others. After bowing to Shiva, Vishnu and others stood there with folded hands. Seeing Vishnu and Brahma along with the gods, Shankara spoke thus, O gods, all of you listen to my logical utterances. I know why you have come to me. Presently, the Brahmins, shielded by the blaze of their penance, would burn to ashes just by their proximity, even as a fire burns straw. In this regard, let us deliberate along with great ministers about defeating the Brahmins. Saying thus, Shiva, leaving out others, discussed at length, point by point, with the prominent leaders of the gods after sitting them. Then Vishnu said thus, other than by deceit, I do not think that by any means the Brahmins can be vanquished. Hence, let Shiva, assuming an enchanting form, go there and infatuate the wives of the Brahmins and make them slip from righteousness. Once they have lost their dharma, the Brahmins can be conquered. This is my opinion, which is most dear to me. Hearing Vishnu, the happy Brahma and other gods prayed to Lord Shankara and prompted him for their welfare. Even Shiva, for the sake of the gods, went along with his attendants on his bull to the forest where the Brahmins were engaged in penance. Then, watching the Brahmins going out to fetch sacred fuel and flowers, Shiva entered their hermitage. Assuming a beautiful form resembling a crore of cupids, Shiva presented himself to the wives of the Brahmins. Seeing such a handsome Shiva, all the wives of the Brahmins, struck by libidinous arrow, followed Shiva. Although Their children and others tried to stop them. All of them followed Shiva, forgetting their kith and kin. Surrounded by them, Shiva moved to another forest. Shankara, by amorous sport, deluding them. Coming in contact with Shiva, all of them became pregnant. After cohabiting with them, Shiva told them thus: Return to your houses, lest your husbands become wrathful. We will meet again later. Now it is going to be dark. Hearing Shankara, the wives of the Brahmins went back, fearing their infidelity towards their husbands. Then the sages, who returned to their houses with fruits, flowers, and sacred fuel, saw their wives looking different and pregnant, started doubting. By the power of their penance, they understood the misdeed of Mahadeva and became ferocious. The angry sages went to Shiva with the intention of reducing him to ashes. Seeing the indignant sages approaching him, the bull bannered Mahadeva took to his heels. Seeing Shiva running away in the sky, the angry sages cast a curse on him thus: because this lustful one has sown his seed in the wombs belonging to others, he shall become a eunuch for other women. Let the penis of this paramour, by which he has defiled our wives, fall off in our presence. That is how Shiva was cursed by the Brahmins. Therefore, O Indra, how can you achieve your goal? There is no chance of Shiva getting a child. Listening to Parvati, Indra eagerly inquired thus: O Devi, I would like to listen to what Shiva did later. How was his penis cut off, and after that, what happened to it? Thus questioned by Indra, Gauri answered him thus: After the curse, the penis of Shiva, who was in the sky, got separated and began to drop down the sky. Seeing the falling genital, Brahma urged Vishnu thus: O Vishnu, if this penis of Shiva falls on the earth, definitely the earth will split into 100 pieces. There is none other than you who can bear this. Hence, to avoid this calamity, become its support in the form of vulva. I will support you as your base. Saying thus, Brahma, the creator, placed himself as a pedestal. Above that, Vishnu took the form of a vulva. Then, soon the Linga, penis, dropped in the middle of the vulva, and by its impact, the vulva got split. Breaking the vulva, the Linga entered the pedestal. Vishnu and Brahma held that Linga with great effort. By its weight, the trembling earth which was entering the Rasatala, a lower world, was firmly held in position by Vishnu in the form of Adishesha, the serpent. Meanwhile, God Shiva was furious. The flame of his anger emerging from his third eye started burning the worlds. It was astonishing. As the worlds were being burned, there was a huge tumult. Then the gods, the Gandharvas, the Vidyadharas, the great serpents, the Siddhas, the Mains, the celestial sages, and many others prayed in many ways to the blue-necked, angry Shiva, the destroyer of Yama. When Shiva could not tolerate the loss of his penis, Brahma became his penis. Seeing Shiva, who was slightly peaceful, having obtained his penis, Vishnu, after bowing and praying repeatedly, said with folded hands thus: O Mahadeva, O Lord of the universe, protect the moving and non-moving creations that are getting destroyed by your flame of anger. Please withdraw the flame. We will always worship your Linga which has fallen. Saying thus, Vishnu worshipped that Linga with several rituals as ordained and with circumambulatory prostrations prayed wonderfully. Then Shiva, pacified by the worship of his Linga, went near Vishnu and addressed him this: O Vishnu, listen. I have been worshipped by you for the first time in the Linga unconventionally to have my blessing. From this day, I will be pleased by the worship of the Linga alone, by all and not otherwise. Let all the gods and human beings install me in the form of the Linga, and I will dwell there. The Trinity, with Brahma as the pedestal, Vishnu as the yoni, and me as the Linga, will in conjunction be the fourth form of Parameshwara. Saying thus, the third eyed Shambhu himself worshipped the Linga. Brahma, Indra, and all other gods offered their worship. O Indra, I have told you the glorious story of Shiva. I have also told you from the start the reason for his curse. End of the 34th chapter of the MahatmyaKhandam of Sri Tripura Rahasyam. Chapter 35. Then Indra inquired Gauri eagerly thus: How the worship of the Linga was done on the earth? If I may know that, please tell me. Then the pleased Girija addressed Indra thus: O Indra, listen. I will tell you the purifying anecdote. People on earth came to know about the worship of the Linga by the gods and did not heed it, perhaps considering it to be hostile to the world. Then Shiva, seeing the discontinuance of Linga worship on the earth, performed extremely severe penance to propitiate Devi Tripura Sundari. After 10,000 years, the pleased Devi presented herself in the visible form. Seeing the Universal Mother, Shiva, filled with fervent devotion, repeatedly bowed, prostrated, and prayed before her. Then the Devi Tripura Sundari, who had assumed a sportive form, addressed Shambhu as Shiva and said thus: O Shankara, listen. Human beings are not interested in the said worship of Linga and are opposing it. Even so, pleased by your penance, I will grant your desire. From this day, let all your forms in all the worlds assume the shape of the Linga. Let the Trinity and the fourth one, called Maheshwara, be pleased with the worship of just the Linga. The Linga has to be worshipped by Brahma, Vishnu, Shambhu, and the fourth Sadashiva and all other gods. According to my command, you, Hari, and other gods should be unfavorable to him who does not worship with devotion the Linga. Even to my devotee, worship of the Linga is mandatory. Even to my devotee, worship of the Linga is mandatory. O Shiva, he who worships me without worshipping the Shiva Linga, all his efforts will be futile. I will be pleased by mere worship of the Linga and grant all his wants. To him who with devotion worships me properly in a Linga, I will grant a dwelling in my abode which is unattainable by others. He who worships me in Sri Chakra written on a Linga will attain myriads of benefits of worshipping Sri Chakra. The yantra tantric diagram written on the top of a Linga is the supreme yantra. Just worship of that is tantamounts to worshipping of all the gods, because the Linga is the embodiment of the divine trinity who have emerged from it. O Shankara, listen, I will tell you another secret. Since the Linga indicates the state of involution, it is the transcendental Parashiva, and it is an alternate form of mind in its causal aspect. Saying thus, and instructing Brahma and others to worship the Shiva Linga, the Devi disappeared as all the gods were watching. From that day, worship of the Linga spread in the worlds. O Indra, I have told you this, hence there is no chance of Shiva having a child. Moreover, you have seen Shiva performing a great penance without breathing and opening his eyes. How can I have contact with him? O Indra, go and depute Kama, the son of Laksmi, for this task. He will win Shiva, and later your desire will be fulfilled. Instructing thus, Gauri disappeared. Then Indra quickly returned to his abode and immediately remembered Manmatha regarding the job on hand. By that mere remembrance, Manmatha made his appearance at that same moment along with Rati in the assembly of Indra. Manmatha, the juvenile repository of charm, wielding the flower arrow and the sugarcane bow and embracing the indescribably beautiful Rati, lured the sight and mind of the gods. Seeing the arrival of Manmatha, Indra, holding his hands, received him and placed him on the throne. Then Indra worshipped Manmatha with suitable articles. Manmatha, who was worshipped thus and honored by the gods, was pleased, and as the gods were listening, addressed Devendra Das, O Indra, tell me why you remembered me. What should I do? Honored by you, I will fetch your want. I will achieve the impossible for your sake, have no doubt. To Manmatha, who spoke in this manner, the happy Indra, with folded hands, said thus, O son of Lakshmi, your words are not surprising. Instead, they befit you. You, the Invincible One, were created by the Universal Mother for my benefit. Shiva, who is your enemy, is presently performing penance. Please vanquish him and unite him with Parvati, the daughter of Himavan. Hearing the words of Indra, Manmatha was depressed and silent, recollecting the earlier curse from Girija and his destruction by Shiva. Seeing the state of Manmatha, Indra said thus, O Kama, why are you unusually sad? Questioned by Indra, Manmatha shied and expressed his inner thought. O Indra, please tell me, who will love self-destruction? I am cursed by Gauri, that I will be reduced to ashes by the three-eyed Shiva. I think that this is the time for that. Time is really inviolable. Even then, after telling you that I will do your job, how can I withdraw? Hence, I will go to achieve your desire and leave the future to the god. Saying thus, Manmatha proceeded from the heaven in his chariot named Chaitra. Then the extremely grieved Rati, embracing her husband around his neck and weeping, tried her best to stop him. She said, O dear, how will I survive while your glory alone survives? Please withdraw your vow of self-annihilation. Let us get back to our city. Living persons alone will enjoy auspiciousness, truth, penance, valor, and all are for life only. What is their use if one dies? If you do not concede my words, I will in your presence discard this life, and then you can go as you wish. O dearest, I am telling you the truth. Separated from you, I will be unable to live even for a second. Listening to his beloved Rati, who had embraced him around his neck, the brave Manmatha said thus, O my beloved, listen. The brave do not grieve in times of distress. Sorrow destroys all benefits. Even Brahma and others cannot alter what is in store. O my love, I will join you again soon. Till such time, worship Devi Tripura Sundari with a pure mind, who will grant you all your wants. Even when her dear husband Kama was telling her, Rati, frightened with sorrow, fell unconscious on the ground just as an yellow plantain tree chopped at its root touches the ground. Seeing the plight of his dear wife, the sad Kama, taking her on his lap, remembered his mother Lakshmi, the consort of Narayana, who made her presence immediately. Seeing his mother, Kama, placing Rati on the ground, bowed to her and narrated his story. O mother, having promised Indra that I will accomplish his task, how can I go against it like a bad person on the earth? Hence I will go to Shiva to conquer him. You take my consort to your abode after consoling her. Then Rama, with a faded, sad countenance, embraced Manmatha, who spoke to her and with courage told him thus, My child, go. You will soon win Maheshwara. Even Brahma cannot undo the curse by Gauri. Hence, meditate on the great Devi Sri Tripura Sundari and recite her Sri Vidya mantra Pancha Dashakshari and go. She will bless you. Go and shine. Thus advised, Manmatha bowed to his mother, the universal mother, and proceeded meditating on Sri Tripura Sundari with utmost devotion. Then Lakshmi looked at Rati with her glances, dripping ambrosia, by which she stood up as if after sleep. Not seeing her husband, the grieved Rati said pitiably thus, O venerable Devi, tell me, where is my lover? Separated from him, I really do not wish to live even for a moment. Again she wailed thus, O my dear, why have you abandoned me, who was always following you? Without you, this entire world looks not to me. Having cheered and consoled Rati, who was lamenting, Lakshmi took her to Vaikuntha, where Rati stayed being guarded by her attendants. End of the 35th chapter of the MahatmyaKhandam of Sri Tripura Rahasyam, chapter 36. Then Kama quickly proceeded on his chariot by name Chaitra, meditating on the auspicious lotus feet of the mother Sri Tripura Sundari. On his way on the banks of the beautiful divine river Ganga, after bathing, he propitiated with a steady mind the Supreme Devi. When Manmatha, with subdued senses, meditated on the feet of Sri Tripura Sundari and became tranquil and introvert, then the great Devi Sri Tripura Sundari stood near him. She was red like the rising sun, wearing the moon on her head, with 3 eyes, wielding in her lotus-like hands the noose, the goad, the bow, and the arrows, shining with a crown bedecked with 9 types of gems, young with exquisite charm, being praised by a host of gods. Seeing her, Kama prostrated before her feet, the Devi placed her lotus hand on his head. Touched by her lotus palm, Manmatha felt blessed and was horripilated with tears of joy. After rising, he saw the Devi and filled with ecstasy praised her with a choked voice, unaware of his own existence. Seeing him in that condition, the Supreme Devi was pleased. Knowing about this, Lakshmi, the beloved of Hari, arrived there. Lakshmi, after bowing and praying to the Supreme Devi, Sri Tripura Sundari, said thus, O Mother, Manmatha, who is the enhancer of my joy, is the foremost among your devotees. He is suffering by the curse from Gauri that he does not deserve. Defeat to your dear devotees is improper. Defeat to your dear devotees is improper. How can worldly activities go on without him? Creation would become static. Hence, instruct and protect him who has fallen at your feet. Hearing Rama, Devi Tripura said in a dignified tone thus, O Lakshmi, listen, my devotee will never perish. O Lakshmi, listen, my devotee will never perish. Till he gets a new body, let him stay in my eyes. Let him be reduced to ashes by Shankara according to the curse from Gauri. Subsequently, he will get a beautiful body and bring happiness to you and Rati. Saying thus, Devi Tripura looked at Manmatha and absorbed him in her eyes and became famous as Kamaksi. Manmatha, who merged in her, looked as if in deep sleep, Sushupti. Then his body dropped in front of Sri Tripura and Lakshmi. From the hairpits of his body, crores and crores of kamas came out all around. After ordering them to induce desire in the living beings, the great Devi Tripura, by her power of illusion, made the body of Manmatha rise. His body rose as if from sleep. The Supreme Devi called him by the name Kama and gave him magical flower arrows and sugarcane bow and blessed him to defeat Mahadeva, who was performing penance. Then Kama, riding his chariot and wielding the flower arrows and the sugarcane bow, reached the place where the blue-necked Shiva was in penance. Devendra also, to get his task done, followed Kama, and seeing Shiva absorbed in penance, stood at a distance along with his retinue, watching the victory of Kama. Then Kama, seeing the meditating Shiva, struck him in his chest by loading his bow with the flower arrow. Realizing the disturbance in his mind, Shiva opened his eyes and saw the daughter of Himavan. Realizing the mental aberration, the furious Shiva saw by his side Manmatha, who was wielding the bow and the flower arrow, and merely by that angry look Manmatha was reduced to ashes, as Indra and others were watching, just like a heap of cotton by a destructive fire. Then Brahma, praised by the sages and seers, realizing the destruction of the creation by the fire of anger, requested Shankara, the great god and the father of the universe, to excuse the act. O Parashurama, I have thus narrated in great detail the birth of Gauri from Himavan and the extremely wonderful story of Kama's reduction to ashes. End of the 36th chapter of the MahatmyaKhandam of Sri Tripura Rahasyam. Chapter 37. O Venerable Guru, I heard the delightful, wonderful glory of the manifestation of Gauri and the burning of Kama. Now, I would like to listen how, after the union of Shiva and Gauri, Kumara was born and how he vanquished the demons. Also, how Manmatha, the dear son of Laksmi and the dispeller of the sorrow of Rati, who had merged with the eyes of Sri Tripura Sundari, came into existence. O Guru, with compassion to me, your disciple, who has surrendered to you, who on earth, including an ignorant person accepting non-moving things, will become satisfied drinking the nectarian, juicy, auspicious story of the Great Mother flowing from your moon-like face, which destroys a heap of misery. Please tell that story to me, who is bowing and requesting you. Thus inquired by Parashurama, Guru Dattatreya started narrating by addressing thus. O Parasurama, listen. After Manmatha, who was reduced to ashes by Shiva, Indra was extremely sad for not having his want fulfilled, and he requested Brahma to achieve this desire. Then Brahma pacified Shankara by praying to him and solicited again along with the gods. Thus, praised by secret and famous hymns of his glory, the pleased Shankara said thus to Brahma, Indra, and others: O Brahma and other gods, ask quickly what you want from me. Undoubtedly, I will grant you that. Hearing Shankara, Brahma said thus: O Trilochana, the gods without a proper leader for their army are defeated and tormented by Taraka and other demons. Hence, please go and join Parvati, and you will get a son who will definitely vanquish those demons by becoming the chief of the army of gods. Hearing the request of Brahma and others, Shiva, deeming it as destiny, consented. Then Shiva joined Parvati and spent 1000 years with her. Then Brahma addressed Indra and others who were in front of him thus: O gods, listen. You should know that Shiva, even after 1000 years of life with Parvati, has not released his seminal energy accumulated over a long period of penance. If he were to release that completely, it to if he were to release that completely, it would really burn the entire earth because of its mighty prowess. Hence, we will go again to Shiva. Saying thus, Brahma proceeded to Shiva along with Indra and other gods. After reaching Shiva, Brahma requested Mahadeva thus: O Mahadeva, please stop your prolonged copulation. Who is competent to bear your entire seminal energy? If you do not stop, the world will be destroyed. Please protect the world. Thus requested by the gods, Mahadeva refrained from excessive copulation. Then the agitated mountain like seminal fluid dropped on the earth, who was unable to bear that power which was burning her. Then she went to Brahma and said thus: O Brahma, I am unable to carry the power of Mahadeva. I am being burned. Please protect me. Who is seeking shelter under you? Hearing the words of earth, Brahma ordered Agni, who was there, thus: O Agni, carry this power of Shiva, which is on earth, till it ripens and becomes Kumara, the child. Listening to Brahma, Agni expressed his desire: O venerable Lord, I will bear that power provided the child will be my son. If not, I will only be sad taking the trouble. Hearing Agni, Brahma conceded to his request. Then Agni, by his strength, carried that power of Shiva, which was unbearable, and failed to hold it. Approaching Brahma, the shy Agni said thus: O Brahma, I am not able to carry this virility of Shiva. Protect me, who is being burned, and tell me where I should abandon it. Brahma thoughtfully told Agni thus: Abandon the great power of Shankara in this Ganga, who will carry it. Listening to Brahma, Ganga with folded palms said thus to him: O Lord, without any benefit, I will never bear the energy of another person. If the child so born will soon become my son, I will bear it, but not otherwise. After Brahma agreed, Ganga carried that energy of Shiva, and very soon, being burnt by it, became a boiling river with tears and fumes and dead water creatures. Approaching Brahma, Ganga with a lowered, shy face said thus: O Brahman, I have no interest in bearing this power. Boiling as I am emaciated. The water creatures are suffering. The ocean does not want my company. I will end up a dry river. With mercy, please tell me where I should deposit this power of Shiva. Hearing Ganga, Brahma thought for a moment and said thus, O Ganga, you can abandon the power of Shankara in the beautiful big bamboo forest at the foot of the Kailasa mountain. Hearing Brahma, Ganga inquired with reverence, your words are extremely astonishing. How can I deposit the energy there? When the all-consuming Agni, the all-tolerating earth, and me Ganga, the best among rivers, are unable to bear? How can the bamboo grove take on the energy? O Brahma, there must be a substantial reason for this. Please tell me if I deserve to listen to it. Inquired thus by Ganga, Brahma narrated in detail, O Ganga, listen to the ancient legend about the bamboo grove. Long ago, because of the demon Bhasmasura, Gauri was separated from Shiva, and by the pangs of which her body started splitting and fell there in hundreds and thousands of pieces. This bamboo forest has grown from the pieces of her body, and because it is made up of the adjuncts of Gauri, it can bear the energy of Shiva. Hence, without any doubt, you abandon there the energy of Shiva. Hearing thus, Ganga deposited the potency of Shiva in the bamboo forest. With that energy, the bamboo forest grew densely. At the proper time, the energy of Shiva became the adorable child Kumara. Brahma saw him first, and other gods reached there later. There, all the gods saw the wonderful child Kumara, whose golden hue conquered the brilliance of crores of suns, whose eyes were broad, whose chest was broad and arms long, whose charm put to shame the beauty of crores of cupids. O Bhargava, seeing him, Agni said, He is my son. Then Ganga said, He is my son. Along with Parvati, Shiva saw the child. Both of them were very happy knowing him as their progeny. For the said reasons, Brahma named the child thus. He is Agnibhu, the son of Agni. Gangeya, the son of Ganga, the son of Parvati as well. Skanda, born from the spilled virility of Shiva. Then Brahma, thinking about who will take care of the baby, employed the Kritika stars for that job. Taking Kumara as their own baby, the Kritikas competed to feed the baby. Seeing their competition, Kumara assumed 6 faces and simultaneously drank their breast milk, and thus got the names as Sanmukha and Kartikeya. Suckled by the Kritikas, he quickly grew like a mountain with 6 peaks, and seeing him, the gods were greatly astonished. Then, seeing all the gods, Skanda said thus, All of you offer your strength to me. Then Brahma offered his rosary, Shiva the trident, Agni the spear, Vishnu the disc, wind god Vayu the god, Varuna the nose, Yama the staff, Kuvera the mace, ocean many gem-set ornaments, Vishwakarma the sandals and very clean fans. All the gods offered worship to him and bowed. Then Skanda, seeing Indra inert and disrespectful, was furious and invited the haughty Indra for a battle. Then a great war started between Skanda and Indra. Skanda was supported by the attendants of Shiva. Indra got the support from other gods. Seeing the mighty power of Skanda, who was fearsome, Indra fled and hid himself within the Krauncha mountain. The angry Skanda shattered the Krauncha mountain, which was in front of him, by many arrows. Then the Krauncha mountain, which was slackened, with its many peaks broken, sought refuge under Brahma. Then Skanda, who was pacified by the prayer of Brahma, returned the conquered wealth of the three worlds to Indra, who had become obedient and thus became the chief of the army of the gods. As the chief of their army, Skanda, along with Indra and others, waged a war with the demons Taraka and Surapadma, who were known for their lordship over 18 worlds. Fighting for a long time with many groups consisting of crores and crores and crores, 100 crores multiplied by crore of demons and displaying his strength. Skanda killed Surapadma and Taraka. Then Skanda made Indra and others as rulers of the worlds. By destroying the demons, Skanda, the dispeller of difficulties, the Lord with 6 faces, established happiness in the world. After hearing the ambrosial story of Skanda narrated by the great Dattatreya, the curious Parashurama inquired again thus, O Lord, I heard your narration, but I have a great doubt. I will express that to you. Please clarify, how was Kanda able to destroy the lord of the demons, who was invincible, by Shiva, Vishnu and Indra? I am eager to know about it. Please tell me. The Guru Dattatreya lovingly addressed Parashurama thus, O Parashurama, listen to the ancient secret. The venerable august Sanat Kumara, the embodiment of all souls, the knower of the past and the future, who dwells in all, who is quiet, who revels in self-joy, was residing in the Rishabha mountain. Then Brahma went there to see his son. Seeing his father, Sanat Kumara stood up and offered worship, like giving a seat and other respects. After the worship, he humbly expressed his mind to Brahma. O Brahman, I seek your permission to inquire about something within me. Saying thus and getting Brahma's consent, he further said, O Brahman, last night I dreamt something wonderful. In a fierce war between the gods and the demons, I killed all the powerful demons. Please tell me how without any reason I killed the demons? Inquired by Sanat Kumara, Brahma, the creator, said thus, O my son, listen. In your earlier birth, while learning about absolute knowledge, you had heard about the war between the gods and the demons. Then you had determined to vanquish all the demons and hand over the wealth to the gods. To achieve that, you practiced Vaishwanara Vidya, but died in between. Because of the partial practice, even though you were fit to achieve the highest goal, you became my son. Your dream is the unconscious impressions in your mind, and it will come true. Hearing Brahma, Sanat Kumara again questioned with reverence thus, O Lord, how can that be? For me, who knows the past and future, there is no future birth. Please enlighten me. Then Brahma addressed his son thus, O my son, listen. All this will happen when by your self volition you will take birth. Saying thus and worshipped by him, Brahma departed to his abode. After a lapse of time, once Shambhu, seated along with Parvati on the bull, was watching the world, reached the hermitage of Sanat Kumara. In that hermitage, Girija saw the son of Brahma seated, who had a pellucid face, who was calm, tranquil, and cool. Seeing such a sage, she inquired Shankara thus, O Mahesha, who is this unperturbed, calm person, a kind not to be seen anywhere in the entire creation? Thus questioned by Girija, the god with the bull banner said thus, he is the famous sage called Sanat Kumara, the son of Brahma. Having attained absoluteness, he is immersed in supreme bliss and ever detached and accomplished. Because of his detached nature, he has no anguish. O Parvati, indulgence is the root cause of suffering. After hearing this, Gauri said thus to Shankara, O great God, that being so, let us go and talk to him and then proceed further. I like to see him. Thereupon Shiva told Parvati what was appropriate at that moment. Oh dear, listen. We should not go anywhere without a purpose. By doing so, one will suffer humiliation. Seeing Parvati anxious to go there, even after his advice, Shiva, along with Parvati, reached the hermitage of Sanat Kumara. Alighting from the bull, they stood in front of the sage. Sanat Kumara did not look at them, thinking that there was no use in their knowing his mind. Shiva and Parvati stood before him for a long time. Then the neglected Lord Shiva, taking it as an insult, decided to test his maturity and angrily shouted at Sanat Kumara and said thus, O wicked one, your behavior is uncultured. Insulting good persons will soon ruin one's glory. I have excused your misbehavior because you are the son of Brahma. Do not once more neglect persons like me. Hearing Shambhu, Sanat Kumara spoke thus, O Shiva, I cannot be frightened. I have no fear from anywhere. Swallowing the cause of fear, I am doubtlessly free on my own. Having discarded the consequences of action, I am not worried either about crores of curses or crores of boons. I do not experience anything special or unspecial any time from anything. He who is the support of all speciality does not depend on anything special. He who is the support of all speciality does not depend on anything special. I consume all distinction just as fuel by the burning fire. So curse me or bless me as you please, quickly without hesitation. I am very much blessed by your presence here. Without effort, I have propitiated you who are to be worshipped arduously with many services. Saying thus, Sanat Kumara remained silent. Hearing Sanat Kumara and seeing his unperturbed being, the pleased Shiva said thus, O son of Brahma, I bow to you who are on the right path. I am pleased by your steadfast beliefs. Tell me what you want. I will grant it to you, even if it is rare. Hearing Shiva, Sanat Kumara smilingly and fearlessly said thus, O Mahadeva, I cannot be shaken by magicians, just as the sky cannot be by a great wind. Ask me what you want. Fulfill this request, which will be my boon. Then Maheshwara, seeing the firm Sanat Kumara, agreed and said thus, If you desire to grant my desire, then you should be born as my son. Granting that boon, Sanat Kumara spoke again thus, O Shankara, your request is really trivial. I am the son of even the low-born creatures. Tell me, what is difficult about becoming your son? I will be born as your son and not to Parvati anyway. I have granted the boon that was requested only by you. Then Devi Parvati spoke to the great sage thus, O son of Brahma, indeed I have also a request to you, because we share our body. You will be my son as well. Equal worship to guests in the conduct of the virtuous. When Shiva has got the boon, how can I return with empty hands? The wise say that disparity is not a good trait. Listening to Parvati, Sanat Kumara said again thus, O Devi, I will be called your son, but I will not be born from your womb. It is my vow that I will not be born through a womb. Hearing that, Parvati again spoke to the sage thus: Woman will not have the pleasure of having a child without physical contact, like carrying and delivering. Therefore, I wish always that you should be born from my body. Thus requested, the sage thought for a while and addressed Shankari thus: O Devi, why are you deluding me with primitive words? You are the mother of the universe, who has accomplished everything. Listen to the truth which I relish. Your earlier body, which split into pieces on the mountain, has grown as a golden bamboo grove. I will be born there through contact with your earlier body, and you will be happy. Thus told and adored, Shiva and Parvati proceeded to the place of their liking. Sanat Kumara, who had, by the greatness of his excellent knowledge, attained oneness with Brahma and all the gods and demons, and grown in strength, vanquished the mighty Taraka and other demons. I have thus narrated to you, Bhargava, the legend of the birth of Kumara. End of the 37th chapter of the MahatmyaKhandam of Sri Tripura Rahasyam. Chapter 38. O Parashurama, who are an ornament to the Bhrigu clan, listen. I will narrate to you the supreme glory of Bharati, Saraswati, which is indeed extremely wonderful. I had mentioned earlier about the auspicious Saraswati, the sister of Shiva. She, who is subtle, is known as Savitri because she protects the three classes of people. She is the consort of Brahma, and her marriage was narrated to you earlier. O Parashurama, once in the assembly of Satyaloka near Brahma, she was variously praised individually by the Siddhas and divine sages who were present there. Brahma was sitting with an indifferent smile towards the prayers. Observing his indifference, the angry Saraswati spoke thus: Your disinterest in me is absolutely improper. You married me when you were unable to create the world on your own. Recollect your pitiable, unskilled condition prior to my entry, when you sought shelter under Devi Tripura Sundari. Hearing Savitri, Brahma, burning with fury, said thus: You should not talk like that to me. Husband is God unto woman. Adoration of a wife in the presence of her husband is highly objectionable. Without knowing the conduct of an obedient wife, you are abusing me in vain. By your misconduct, you are unfit to be my wife. In future, you will never be with me in any sacred ritual. The caste Savitri, again burning with extreme anger, announced a counter curse on Brahma thus: If I do not deserve to be with you during sacred rituals, then listen, I will be with you by taking birth in a low class caste. Listening to the counter curse, Brahma was again furious. Then all the gods, seeing both Brahma and Savitri very furious, surrounded them and praised them. By their anger, the entire world trembled. Then Narayana and Shiva quickly arrived there. After hearing Brahma and Savitri, they made them excuse each other. Then Shiva and Narayana said thus: O Brahma, it was improper and inauspicious that Devi Savitri, born of Sri Tripura Sundari, was disrespected by you. O Devi, listen. Your thoughtless curse on Brahma was not right. We will suggest a solution to your mutual curses. The angry curse by Brahma that Savitri cannot partake in his sacred rites, and the curse by Savitri that she, as a low-born one will partake in such rites, both these will not go in vain. O Savitri, born with a different body from your own aspect in the low class clan, you will be with Brahma during the rites. Hearing Shiva and Vishnu, Brahma and Saraswati, with residual anger, again cursed each other. Brahma said thus, born in the low class, let her be my wife during the rites. But for having cursed me without forethought, she will not remember that she will born from the aspect of Saraswati. Hearing the curse uttered again, the angry Bharati soon cursed Brahma thus, because you have without reasoning cursed me, you will impulsively love me. You will impulsively love me, a forbidden woman. Seeing both Brahma and Saraswati angrily cursing each other, again Shiva and Vishnu prayed to them through various hymns and made them excuse mutually. After a lapse of long time, the creator Brahma decided to perform a yajna near the great lake Pushkara and ordered the divine artisan Vishwakarma to build the place for yajna. Vishwakarma made the hall ready for the sacred ritual. The hall was entirely decorated, containing all the required material. The altars for the yajna were set with 9 types of gems. The hall had the combined ambience of the 6 seasons of the year and contained golden vessels filled with varieties of rice and drinks. At that hall arrived prominent oblationaries like Bhrego, Kashyapa, Kardama, Vasishtha, Pulaha, Agastya, Pulastya, all experts in the performance of yajna. Many other great sages, well versed in yajna and erudite, arrived there from all places. Indra and other gods, Gandharvas, Apsaras, Vidyadharas, Kimpurushas, Kinnaras, great serpents, demons, Rakshasas, and humans arrived at Pushkara, the place of the ritual. The Gandharvas sang and Apsaras danced. The panegyrists chanted many praises to Brahma and others. Then, at the most auspicious time, when the stars and planets were favorable, Brahma invited his dear wife to the sacred rite. Indra and others invited Saraswati thus, O Devi, Brahma is waiting for you from a long time to perform the sacrifice at the auspicious time. Please go there. Since the time is said to be auspicious, it should not be lost at any cost. Thus invited, Saraswati did not go thinking that what has to happen will happen. Brahma, coming to know of her delay, was angry about losing the auspicious period and said thus to Vishnu, who was there, O Hari, bring me quickly another equally suitable wife before we transgress the auspicious period. Thus ordered by Brahma, Vishnu searched on the earth and not finding one in the Brahmin class, brought a cow-herd girl who was equal to Savitri. Seeing her having auspicious qualities, everyone loudly exclaimed, Well done, well done. Then Brahma married her and performed the great sacrifice. Then Savitri came to the sacrificial hall along with her friends and saw the most beautiful Gayatri by the side of Brahma. Dimmed by the effulgence of Gayatri, just like a star by the full moon, Savitri was shy, thinking that the assembly was laughing at her. Just like a lotus that shrinks exposed to Himalayan mountain, her lotus-like face shrunk, and she looked as if her limbs were hiding in the mountain of shyness. For a moment she stood there still, as if unconscious, and as if a still painted picture. Then, getting to know about the deed of Brahma, she was burning, enveloped with anger. that would reduce the three worlds to ashes. With throbbing lips she said thus, O Brahma, your conduct is fine. Saying thus, she departed from the sacrificial place. Savitri settled on the central peak of a nearby mountain. Then the sacrificial hall, along with the priests and others, was engulfed with the blaze of her fury, which looked like burning the sacrificer, his wife, and the entire arrangement. Augmented by the wind, as the flames started destroying all, the priests, and members assembled there, fled. The gods, Gandharvas, sages, Siddhas, Charanas, and Kinnaras discarded their gifts and without even bidding goodbye to each other ran in 10 directions, wailing and trembling with fear. The earth trembled like the leaf of a fig tree shaken by a great wind. The horizons were enveloped by darkness. The oceans were in high tide. The sun was swallowed by darkness as if by Rahu. The mountains were splitting as if during dissolution. When that was the condition of the worlds above and below, Brahma and all others uncertain about their course of action went one by one to pray to Savitri. To begin with, Indra with his retinue went to the mountain peak where Savitri stayed. As Indra was proceeding towards the mountain, crores of Shaktis born out of Savitri's anger, wielding fierce swords, started to destroy everyone, and among them Indra was captured, bound and imprisoned in the mountain cave. Similarly, Yama, Agni, Varuna, Kuvera, Niriti, Vayu, Rudras, Vasus, and all gods were bound. When all the gods were thus captured by the Shakti forces, Vishnu discussed with Shiva in the presence of Brahma, thus the fire of Savitri's fury will burn the three worlds. All the gods are captured. What should we do to achieve good? After deeply thinking about it, Vishnu sent Parvati and Laksmi to pacify Savitri. Parvati and Lakshmi quickly reached Saraswati by overcoming all the angry forces and spoke to her sweetly. When Savitri was not pacified even by their request, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva approached her. Savitri, whose anger had slightly reduced, seeing Brahma before her, started burning again with intense fury, and because of that her wonderful form looked frightening, and she emitted fire from her eyes. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva were surrounded by that fire, just as the elephants in Rat enveloped by a conflagration. Seeing them who were being burned, Lakshmi and Parvati propitiated the primordial Devi Tripura Sundari, as there was no other succor. Then the Supreme Devi, with a beauty surpassing the charm of a crore of cupids, appeared there. Seeing her wearing a gem decorated garment, glowing with a crown, and wielding attractively her famous weapons in her four hands, Gauri and others bowed to her with reverence. By the very presence of Devi Tripura Sundari, the fire of anger that had pervaded disappeared, just as the darkness with the rising of the sun. Then she addressed Saraswati thus, O my dear daughter, enough of your anger that is destroying the world. Withdraw the forces born out of your fury. Let the worlds be free from distress. Look at them with love. Thus told by the Devi Tripura, Saraswati, who was shy, absorbed all the forces born out of her anger into her own body and became tranquil. Then the virtuous Savitri, with extreme devotion, praised Devi Tripura Sundari through many beautiful prayers and said thus, O Devi Tripura, pardon my mistake caused by my anger. I am here as your servant, ready to take your instructions. Please do so." Then, by the compassionate glance of the Divine Mother, Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva stood up, and similarly all the gods were freed. The Devi Tripura Sundari said again to Savitri thus, "O my dear daughter, be calm. Let Brahma, the Lord of living beings, complete the sacrifice by uniting again with you." Hearing Devi Tripura Sundari, the virtuous Savitri, with folded hands, said thus, "O mother, I do not desire to be united again with Brahma. I will settle down here itself, always drowned in the bliss of meditating on your lotus feet. In this matter, O mother, please do not again prevent me." End of the 38th chapter of the MahatmyaKhandam of Sri Tripura Rahasyam. Chapter 39. Then Brahma, after repeated prayers and prostrations, said thus to the Devi, "O great Devi, I am wholly obeying your orders. Without your orders, who will be able to move? I would submit my request to you. O mother, please listen with compassion. If Savitri does not come, how will my yajna be completed, and how will the world be without trouble? In the past, cursed by the angry Savitri that I will fall in love with a low-class woman, I completed the yajna by marrying that woman. But how will I be appreciated by the great Brahmarshis? O Supreme Empress, set right all these and bless me." Thus requested by Brahma, the Supreme Tripura Sundari said thus, "O gods and goddesses, listen with devotion. I will narrate the extremely glorious legend about the birth of the most charming wife who associated with Brahma during the sacrifice. Long ago, a famous liberal Brahmin named Kaushika, who was addressed as Haryaksha Kuvera for his virtue and knowledge, performed penance on the sacred mountain called Suparshva. By a severe penance, he pleased the Devi Savitri, who appeared before him. She said thus, "O Brahmin, I am pleased with your great penance. Tell me what you want. I will grant that to you. There is nothing which cannot be given to you. Are you aspiring the position of Indra or Chandra, moon, or Kuvera? By your penance, you have conquered everything, right from Brahma to moving and non-moving creation. O Brahma and other gods, listen to what Haryaksha reverentially said after hearing Savitri. O Devi, I am not interested in becoming Indra or Chandra or Kuvera. In the past, when I was performing penance in my hermitage, I saw a cowherdess who was grazing the cattle. Infatuated by her beauty, I followed her. In spite of my repeated request, she never obliged. Then I forcibly brought her, who was screaming, to my hermitage. Tormented as I was with sexual urge, I seized her and had conjugal union with her. At that time the great sage Narada came there, and hearing the wailing of the cowherdess, who was overpowered by me, angrily said thus, leave her. But deluded by lust, I did not leave her, and was engaged in sex. Then the furious Narada announced a curse which was heard by me. O wicked Brahmin, you should not have desired this girl, because you have forcibly united with her out of lust. You will also be defiled soon for such a vile act, because you were enamored by a cowherdess. You will become a cowherd. Then, scared by the curse, I bowed to Narada. many times and repeatedly requested a redemption from the curse. The angry Narada did not care to reply, but upon my perseverance, he said thus, Devi Savitri, when pleased, will relieve you from the curse. Propitiate Devi Savitri. Saying thus, Narada disappeared. Whence I have meditated upon you, O Maheshwari, please protect me, who is drowned in the sea of the curse. Thus requested by the Brahmin, Savitri told him about the end of the curse. O Haryaksha, listen, I will tell you how the curse will end. You will definitely be born in the cowherd community. Then, in one such birth of yours, I will, with my aspect, take birth as your daughter. Again, you will, by the boon from Vishnu, get him as your son and attain his supreme abode. Saying thus, your beloved Savitri disappeared. She, born from the aspect of Savitri as a cowherdess, because of the curse from you, not through mother's womb, is irreproachable and is worshipped by Brahmins and all. She is Gayatri, the mother of Veda and Prosody, who totally protects her singer. She is the essence of the Veda and will be reputed as the highest Brahma Vidya, ultimate knowledge. O Savitri, my child, look at her born from your aspect. Because of the curse, you could not recognize her. She is your second form. Listening to Devi Tripura Sundari, Savitri realized that Gayatri was a reflection of herself. Regaining the memory which was destroyed by the curse, by the grace of the great Devi, Savitri was extremely happy and attained her original tranquility. Then the Supreme Devi, Tripura Sundari, addressed Brahma and others thus, Gayatri, born out of me, is the embodiment of my speech and thus supreme. All beings born out of my face, arms and thighs, Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, by getting initiated in her mantra containing 24 alphabets, will become known as Dvijas, twice born. Then she said thus, O Brahma, listen, the curse on you by Savitri that you will fall in love with a forbidden woman will be executed because of the fact that you will wrongly love Gayatri, the embodiment of Veda, who has taken birth from your speech and hence your daughter. Also, Savitri, the embodiment of speech, will become venerable by all. All of you, listen. Gayatri, who is my daughter, is undoubtedly myself. Persons with a clear vision will see her as my daughter. Saying thus, Devi Tripura Sundari entered into Gayatri just like Ganga joining Yamuna. Witnessing that astonishing event, Brahma and others praised the Devi and saw Devi Gayatri, the embodiment of Devi Tripura Sundari. Devi Gayatri was wielding the noose, the gourd, the bow, and the arrows of flower in her four hands, wearing the moon on her head, with three eyes red in complexion. Brahma and others bowed and lauded her, the most charming and completely embellished transcendent Devi. Then Devi Tripura Sundari again said thus, all of you hear me, I am really Gayatri, who is never different from me. Pleased as I am with all of you, I will show you my divine form as Gayatri, the embodiment of the aggregate manifestation of speech. Saying thus, the Divine Mother gave them the divine vision, and all the gods saw Goddess Tripurambika. And all the gods saw Goddess Tripurambika in the form of Devi Gayatri. The great Devi Gayatri was pervading the universe as its space. Her body constituted the 50 alphabets. She was the supreme ambrosial bliss. The vowels A to Ah were her face. The 5 groups of consonants with her arms, legs, and stomach, the semi-vowels and the sibilants, her head, heart and the base. The levels of speech, Pashyanti, Madhyama and Vaikhari, were her navel, heart and mouth respectively. She was associated with cognizable nada in Madhyama. Her heart was associated with the Pashyanti sound. Her speech was the audible Vaikhari. Her face, the alphabets. Her heart, the words. Her stomach, the sentences. She was both the audible and the subtle forms of sound. Her head was Vedas. Her eyes were the luminous stars. Her mouth, the signs of grammar. Her voice, the Vedic prosody. Her neck, the signs of euphony. Her ears, the signs of law. Her heart, the Sama Veda. Her breasts, the Rig and Yajur Vedas. Her stomach, the Atharvana Veda. Her ribs, the Sankhya Yoga. Her ribs, the Sankhya Yoga. Her hands, the rites. Her thighs, the signs of logic. Her back, the auxiliary Vedas, like Ayurveda, Dhanurveda. Her ribs, the Sankhya Yoga. Her hands, the rites. Her thighs, the signs of logic. Her back, the auxiliary Vedas like Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, and so on. Her glances, the Puranas. Her smile, the signs of rhetorics. Self knowledge was her embodiment, disposition. Her nails and hair were the Buddhist and Jain philosophy. She was auspicious and transcendent. Witnessing that wonderful form, the gods prostrated before her and with folded hands praised the great Devi Gayatri. Worshipped by the gods, Devi Gayatri was happy. At that time, thousands of cowherds holding sticks arrived there and addressed Brahma thus: O Brahma, hear us. The world has been created by you and is bound by your oral instructions. Here a woman has no freedom, even if she is a Devi. A father is responsible for her birth. Also, she is protected by her brothers. Hence, she cannot be enjoyed without their permission, which has been so ever since creation. Hence, if a strong person enjoys her, it would be destroying the bridge of righteousness, just like hawks killing themselves for the sake of meat. Men would get mutually destroyed for the sake of a woman. Please tell us, clarifying this issue that endangers the three worlds. Hearing the king of cowherds, Brahma said thus: no one can transgress the ordinance of fate, which is paramount. Even Brahma is bound by it. Hence, be peaceful. See your daughter, who is Parashakti, who is before you. The cowherd king, as per the words of Brahma, saw her. Understanding that his daughter was the supreme Devi, worshipped by all the gods, he bowed and prayed to her. O Devi, deluded by your power, I was foolish not to recognize you as the all-powerful great Devi when you were in my house. Show mercy on me and again enter my house. Requested in this manner, the Supreme Devi addressed the cowherd king thus: O cowherd king, listen. Understand me as having the triple forms Savitri, Gayatri and Saraswati. Savitri, Gayatri and Saraswati pervading the space. I gave you bliss in your house as Saraswati. Now I have manifested from the Gauri aspect. In my future manifestation, I will be the sister of Vishnu. You will be born as Nanda Gopa, the famous lord of cowherds. I will be born in your house as Katyayani. The supreme Narayana will be my brother, who will bring auspicious universal fame to you. In the Kali Yuga, I will take birth on the Vindhya mountain and redeem the misery of everyone. Repeatedly worshipped by the cowherd ladies for a month, I will grant their desire that is rare in the world, thus obtaining the boon All the happy cowherds bowed to the Devi and other gods and returned to their houses. Then the great Devi, the universal mother, disappeared. Savitri resided on the Vindhya mountain. Brahma, along with Gayatri, performed the sacrifice again on the banks of the foremost lake Pushkara. O Parashurama, I have narrated to you the wonderful episode of Savitri, which removes the sins of those who listen to it. What do you want to listen from me further? End of the 39th chapter of the Mahatmya Khandam of Sri Tripura Rahasyam.